Darkeset Dungeon 2, all heroes and all subclasses in the game guide. After hundreds and hundreds of hours, I'm giving to you one full combo of all heroes in the game. Let's not waste time. Let's go. The Plague Doctor Guide, how to play the Plague Doctor. All builds for all subclasses in a game. Let's not waste time. Let's go. The Plague Doctor is a back row, blighter, burner, bleeder, healer, buffer, and debuffer. A full all-around S-tier hero. The best quirks that you can take on your Plague Doctor would be quirks that give you dodge and armor. Speed quirks are also very nice. Let's start from the Surgeon subclass and how you're supposed to play the Surgeon. Surgeon is a tanky, melee, healer version of a Plague Doctor. The best way to play the Surgeon would be from the position 3 and nowhere else. Having that in mind, if you get shuffled, you will need other heroes that can compensate and rotate so she can get back into position 3 non-stop. The build that we're gonna play on a Surgeon is Blinding Gas for some crowd control, Incision for classic bleed melee damage, Battlefield Medicine for healing, more healing from Indiscriminate Science, and of course debuffs removal, and some crowd control with Disorienting Blast. This is how you're gonna play Surgeon. The top 3 skills to upgrade on a Surgeon would be Incision, Battlefield Medicine, and Indiscriminate Science, in that order. The next subclass for the Plague Doctor would be the Alchemist, the best, absolutely the best subclass in the game. The Alchemist works only on position 4 and she can be played on position 3 also. Stick with position 4. The first spell would be Noxious Blast to reach first 2 rows of enemies and deal blight damage. The second skill would be some Battlefield Medicine to remove blight, bleed and burn, as well as a small heal. The third skill would be the Plague Grenade, the bread and butter of this build. Fourth skill would be additional healing, debuff removal of course, and one of the best spells in the game would be Magnesium Rain, full AoE burn damage that clears corpses, and the most important thing from here is dodge removal, dodge token removal from enemies. This is probably one of the strongest subclasses not only for the Plague Doctor but in the entire game. The top 3 skills to level up on the Alchemist subclass would be the Plague Grenade as the first one, Magnesium Rain as the second one, and Indiscriminate Science as the third one, in that order. The last in line would be Physician subclass for the Plague Doctor. Physician is a full freaking support. Every skill that you cast from Physician will be to buff your allies and debuff enemies. You will play position from position number 3 and position number 4. Best to be on position number 3. How do we play Physician? We play it with a Blinding Gas for some crowd control, we play it with a Battlefield Medicine for some healing and burn, blight, bleed removal, we play it with Ounce of Prevention because it has strong buffs with Ounce of Prevention, as well as with Emboldening Vapors. Upgraded as well as what they give with this subclass, it's gonna be crazy good. And at the end, we play with Disorienting Blast that's gonna make enemies stunned, damage down, dazed, vulnerable, and applying combo. Absolutely great skill on a Physician. The first 3 skills to upgrade on a Physician would be Disorienting Blast, then Blinding Gas, and at the end Indiscriminate Science, in that order. For the Wanderer Plague Doctor, the only important thing is Hero Shrines to unlock everything and then switch to some of the subclasses. You can use any of the builds I gave on the Wanderer, they all gonna work. Now if you have any difficulties playing the Plague Doctor, you can always check one of my 100 runs that I uploaded on my YouTube channel and check all different builds and how I play the Plague Doctor. To me personally, one of the best classes in the game and most balanced. The Grave Robber Guide, how to play the Grave Robber. All builds for all subclasses in the game. Let's not waste time. Let's go. So what is the Grave Robber? Grave Robber profits a lot out of stealth, and she's also extremely good with range damage as well as AoE damage. It depends what type of class, or better say what type of subclass of a Grave Robber you would like to play, and that's why quirks for the Grave Robber are all valid. If you can get melee quirks, then you need to play as a melee. If you get range quirks, then you need to play as ranged. Very good quirks on a Grave Robber would be classic dodge quirks, stealth quirks, basically everything that merges with her subclass build. Now let's go to subclasses and explain how Grave Robber actually works. The first in line is the Deadeye, ranged Grave Robber. So how can we play Deadeye? Deadeye, the most simple way to play Deadeye is with full range damage and a bit of utility. So heal, stress heal, single target damage, AoE damage, and damage over time. That would be the first build for the Deadeye. She can be played with this build from position number 3 and position number 4. The next build would start on position 1 or 2, depends on your preference, where we're just gonna switch all of this for Pirouette, where you're gonna open up with Pirouette and level up Pirouette first, so you actually deal tons of damage. And the third build is where we're gonna remove single target damage and gain a lunge, so we can actually trigger Pirouette twice or even 3 times during combat. How does it work? Very simple. You open up with a Pirouette, you throw a poison dart, you stress heal on turn 3 or gain dodge and heal up with absent, then you lunge in again, and then you Pirouette again. That's the entire combo. Now it is your choice how you wanna play Deadeye. How would I play Deadeye? Definitely with a Pirouette. Alright, definitely with Pirouette and lunge. This is the build that I would pick for the Deadeye. If a lot of characters are moving positions, you can put her on spot number 1. Grave Robber is tricky to play, especially for newcomers, cause she does switch positions non-stop. Most of her skills switch positions. What would be the leveling order aside from the Pirouette? As the main upgrade, of course, it's Poison Dart and it's Dead of a Night, so you can actually stress heal when you clear the corpse. Upgraded Absent is extremely good, especially against Confession bosses, main bosses of the run, because it gives dodge plus 3 times. The next in line would be Venom Drop. Venom Drop is very simple to play. All you need to do is go into stealth and target enemies with blight damage. Merges extremely well with Blighter's build. We play with a Plague Doctor, Grave Robber, and Flagellant. How do we play Venom Drop? The most important skill would be Shadow Fade. So we open up from position 2, go with a Shadow Fade, we're stealthed now, which means that the next upgrade, or better to say Poison Darts, will deal more blight damage. Once that is done, you can always taunt enemies and remove your stealth, and you're gonna get dodge with taunt. So she's also very defensive on top of dealing a lot of damage. A tricky one to play. You need a good team that's gonna switch compositions, and you need blighters in your team. So the best team for the Venom Drop Grave Robber would be Flagellant, Plague Doctor, and someone that can switch a lot of positions, like the Jester. The last Grave Robber, or better to say Nightsworn, is extremely simple to play. This is a lunge, pirouette, pure damage dealing Grave Robber with a very simple combo. You open up from position number 1, you open with Pirouette. That's gonna be the first spell that you're gonna upgrade, by the way. Once you open up with a Pirouette, you deal damage to the front row, AoE damage, spot number 1 and 2. She transfers to position number 4. On position number 4, you will apply Shadow Fade, stealth, so you will boost damage of lunge on for turn 3. So turn 1, Pirouette, turn 2, Shadow Fade, turn 3, lunge, Pirouette, Shadow Fade, lunge. I think you get the point how it works. If you are in danger, if you want to stress heal, you can do it. If you want to heal up, gain dodge, you can also do it. Very simple to play, very effective. Deals tremendous amount of damage with lunge and pirouette, by the way. The main problem, she cannot deal damage to position number 4. she can only deal damage to position number 1, 2, and 3. That's the main problem with this build, but if you got characters that gonna deal damage to position number 4, then this is the strongest subclass for the Grave Robber. Now, if you got problems and you don't know how to exactly play the Grave Robber, you got 100 of different runs on my channel where you can check out how I played the Grave Robber and learn how to play her. The Highwayman Guide, how to play the Highwayman. All builds for all subclasses in the game. Let's not waste time. Let's go. What is the Highwayman? The Highwayman is a highly versatile class, or better to say, this is all around hero. This Highwayman is good as an off tank, as a melee damage dealer, a range damage dealer, and self buffer. One of the best classes in the game. What are the best quirks on your Highwayman? Very simple. Quirks that gonna give you armor, dodge, flat damage, and flat crit chance are the best quirks on your Highwayman. One of the best quirks on a Highwayman would be breakthrough, if you're lucky enough to get that one. Now let's go to Highwayman subclasses. The first one would be the Rogue, one of the best subclasses in the game and my favorite subclass for the Highwayman. How do we play Rogue? Rogue plays on a position number 1. You open up with a point blank shot, and then depends on the situation. If you want to remove positive tokens from enemies or steal their tokens, you're gonna use Highway Robbery. If not, you're gonna use Duelist Advance and get a riposte. Once you decide to execute enemies, you have Wicked Slice. And for the boss fights, you're gonna have Decaying for additional juicy crits. How to level up in order? The most important skill would be Point Blank Shot, and then it would be the Highway Robbery. The third one that you're gonna get is Duelist Advance. The next in line would be Highwayman Sharp Shot, or better to say, Ranged Highwayman. Ranged Highwayman can be played in 3 different ways as a sharp shot. The first way is when you open up from position number 1 with a point blank shot, then you use a grape shot blast, and then you aim for the enemy if you wanna kill with a pistol shot, or you're gonna remove enemies' positive tokens, or better to say, steal them. Once you decide to execute an enemy on a death's door, you got double tap. That would be the first option. The second option would be on a position number 3 with take aim instead of a point blank shot. So when you were opening with a point blank, this time you will open up with a grape shot blast, and then you'll decide what to do with the rest of the skills. And what is the most important thing to level up in order is the grape shot blast into pistol shot and into highway robbery. The last and the third option would be removal of highway robbery and getting trekking shot for ignoring dodge and making combo of a target. Same leveling order, grape shot blast is the most important upgrade on this sharp shot highwayman. The last in line would be Yellow Hand. What is Yellow Hand? Yellow Hand is an off tank position number 2 or 1 that deals bleed damage, or better to say, this is the bleeder. How do we play the bleeder? That depends on a team composition. If team will switch positions, then you're gonna play with a Duelist Advance. If the team is static, you will exchange Duelist Advance for Wicked Slice, and that's the entire difference of the build. The most important things to upgrade on the Yellow Hand Highwayman in the first spot would be Open Vein, and in the second spot would be a Highway Robbery and Double Cross. If you got any problems of playing Highwayman, you got 100 runs on my channel, both Radiant and Infernal runs. You can check it out how I was playing Highwayman. It's one of the best classes in the game, definitely S tier, especially Rogue subclass. The Man-at-Arms guide, how to play Man-at-Arms. All builds for all subclasses in the game. Let's not waste time, let's go. First subclass for Man-at-Arms would be the Sergeant. Pure support. He can be played from position number 4 to position number 1. It doesn't matter where you put it, which also means that you can play with whoever the hell you like over here. They all merge well with the Sergeant. Sergeant buffs your allies like crazy and debuffs enemies. What are the most important skills? It's the Defender to protect allies. It's Bolster to remove vulnerable and damage down, as well as to remove stress. Below to remove crits and riposte. from enemies, also to reduce their move speed. Retribution, one of the best spells in a game by far, which gives taunt, riposte, and armor up. And at the end we got command that's gonna remove blind and give classic damage to a character, to a hero. What is the most important spell? The first one you're gonna learn is Retribution, after that it's Bolster, and after that it's Below. After that you can do whatever the hell you like over here. Just make sure that you got these three in order: Retribution, Bolster, Below. The next subclass would be Bulwark. Bulwark is a classic position 1 or 2 man-at-arms that's gonna whack enemies with its shield and stun them, okay? Crowd controlling enemies, relieving allies from stress, as well as removing crits and riposte from enemies. Once it gets really tough, he can also provide a lot of armor for himself, or better to say, this is one very tanky man-at-arms. If you get out of position as a Bulwark, you can go in with Hold the Line and reorganize your entire team. The most important skill as a Bulwark would be Bolster, and that's what you're gonna level up first. After that, it's gonna be Below and Rampart. And now we go to Vanguard. Vanguard is my favorite class, subclass in a game. Why? Very simple, it's a classic damage dealing riposte man-at-arms. Now how do we play Vanguard? We need Crush, we need Bolster, we need Hold the Line, we need Below, and we need Retribution. The first two skills that you're gonna level up as a Vanguard is of course Retribution and Bolster for stress. After that it's Below. You don't need anything else. Vanguard is extremely strong, very nice class, subclass to play with, and I would highly recommend this subclass to everyone instead of other subclasses for the man-at-arms. Now, if you got some problems playing man-at-arms, I played him a lot and I got dozens of videos with man-at-arms with all subclasses. You can check out my runs and I hope they're gonna be helpful to you. The HELLION guide, how to play the HELLION. All builds for all HELLION subclasses in the game. Let's not waste time and let's go. So what is the HELLION? HELLION is a front rank damage dealing machine. Okay, she can bleed enemies, she can reach the last row, the only melee character that can actually reach the last row of enemies. She's got high damage, she can also bleed enemies, and she can be extremely tanky, and she possesses a taunt. The first subclass for HELLION would be Ravager, classic damage dealing machine buff when she is on position number 1. So how do we play Ravager? During mapping you want to go with a Wicked Hack, you want to go with Iron Swan, you want to go with Toe to Toe, Reckless Revelry for stress relief, and Howling End. If you think that you're gonna kill at the start, you can immediately use Howling End, and then on turn 2 you will go Toe to Toe. Once upgraded, it will remove Winded debuff, so she can hurt again with the Wicked Hack. So turn 1 Howling End, turn 2 Toe to Toe, turn 3 Wicked Hack. If you wanna reach back row, you open up with Iron Swan, then with Howling End into Toe to Toe, into Wicked Hack. That is one build while the maps last. Once you enter the boss fight, you're gonna switch Iron Swan for Adrenaline Rush, so you got extra healing out of these two. Once you reach Confession boss, you will remove Toe to Toe and go with Bloodlust. And this is how you play Ravager. So what skills are the most important on a Ravager? This one that removes stress is extremely important to upgrade, as well as Howling End. If you got teammates that can reach and that can burst out, then maybe it's better to go with Wicked Hack. If not, then you're gonna go with Howling End if your HELLION is going to be the main damage dealer in the game. The next subclass of HELLION would be the Berserker. So how do we play Berserker? If you open up from position 1, that means that you will target the first enemy in line. So how do we play Berserker? If you open up your fight as position number 1, that means that you will use Bleed Out the most, and the rest of the skills are there to compensate. If you get shuffled, you're gonna go back with a Breakthrough. If you go back with a Breakthrough on position number 4, once you go with a Breakthrough position number 2, then you can use Bleed Out. Alright, and then you can use breakthrough again. The rest over here is to remove stress, to heal up, and remove winded debuff. This is one way to play the Berserker. The other way is on a position 2 where you're gonna open up and kill enemies with if it bleeds. Now that all depends on what trinkets you're going to get along your run. And this is how you'll play Berserker. If you get a trinket for position number 2, then you will switch Bleed Out for Bloodlust. If you get good item for position number 1, you will switch if it bleeds for Bloodlust. So Berserker basically has 2 types of different builds. What's the most important skill to upgrade? Very simple. If position 2, it's if it bleeds. If position 1, it's Bleed Out. Of course, after that you go with upgraded Stress Heal. Now here we go with HELLION Carcass, my favorite HELLION subclass. What is Carcass? It's a taunter. As long as you use Barbaric Yoke, you'll taunt enemies. It's simple as that. For every point of winded debuff, you will get 75% chance for armor up. If you can find a trinket that's gonna turn armor into armor plus, this is literally indestructible taunt tank, full tank HELLION. Probably one of the best tanks in a game, only and only if a good trinket rolls. What's the most important skill to upgrade? Of course, it's Barbaric Yoke, and after that it's a Stress Heal and Classic Heal, and that's about it. Very simple to play, very good class to play with, subclass. If you got problems playing HELLION, you can check some of my videos where I played HELLION with all 3 different subclasses and finished all of my runs on Infernal Torch. The Runaway Guide, how to play the Runaway. All builds for all Runaway subclasses in the game. Let's not waste time and let's go. The Runaway covers every position in the game. She's very unique in the game as she's a new addition to the Darkeset Dungeon franchise, and her main ability is Burn. Or better to say, she burns enemies from nearly every position. Aside from that, she's also a stealthy character and a very nimble one. Can be easily played from position 1 to position 4. One of the stronger characteristics for this hero is high movement. She moves like crazy, backwards and forward. The best quirk by far on a Runaway would be Breakthrough. Other than that, she profits mostly out of crit range damage, melee damage, and of course, dodge tokens. The first subclass for the Runaway would be Arsonist. Arsonist has a higher chance to burn enemies with her skills. In return, she deals less damage. There are multiple ways to play Arsonist, from position 1 to position 4. I'll show you my favorite way. This build is by far the strongest one on an Arsonist. You open up from position 2 and you apply Dragonfly on enemies. After that, you'll apply Controlled Burn, and after that, you'll start bombarding with Firefly. Non-stop burn with all of these 3 skills. Once you fight some bigger enemy, you can always blind them, and if some of the allies gets low on HP while bleeding, you can heal them up and remove bleeding. This build, I kinda like it the most in the entire game out of all subclasses. Arsonist that moves with Dragonfly. Of course, now if you wanna play like that and you wanna move non-stop with Dragonfly, you can open up Arsonist with position 1, then she goes back, you put up a Ransack to go forward again, burn enemies with Ransack. You can also apply Controlled Burn. There is the option of a Searing Strike. And once she gets low, once you upgrade Run and Hide, she'll go into Stealth and heal up. This is the other way to play Arsonist. Now, what is the most important upgrade for Arsonist? No matter what build you decide to play on an Arsonist, Dragonfly and Firefly are the things you want to upgrade first. After that, it should be Controlled Burn. The next one in line is a Survivor subclass, or better to say, this is a Support Runaway. Support Runaway, we can play her from spot number 4 or spot number 3, your choice, and of course depends on a team you want to play with. Now, how do we play Support Survivor Runaway? Very simple. We're gonna go with Heartlight, we're gonna go with Cauterize for additional healing, we're gonna go with a fire starter and apply on units that deal AoE damage so they can burn everyone. Run and hide once she gets in danger with stealth and healing, and of course combo blind, extremely good on this support. Once upgraded, it makes enemies vulnerable. The first skill you want to upgrade on a survivor would be smoke screen and fire starter. After that, it's cauterize. The last in line would be orphan. Orphan can be literally played only on position 1 or position 4, so pay attention. If you go with position 1, then it's melee orphan. If you go with position 4, then it's ranged orphan. So how do we play orphan on position number 1? We play it with a fire starter that's gonna give us crit, and then we go into dragonfly or the other way around. Dragonfly into fire starter, into ransack or searing strike. I would recommend ransack. If some of your characters get low, you can always heal them. The other orphan is on position number 4, and that would be burning orphan. Burning orphan is very simple to play. All you need is a firefly, cauterize, control burn. If you get switched, then you're gonna use control burn because you can't use it from position number 4. You need fire starter, and at the end you can go with blind. This would be orphan on position number 4. Your main spell, main skill would be firefly, and that's the one you want to upgrade. The next one would be fire starter. That would be it with a runaway, a very specific class, unique class to play with. I would not recommend runaway to newcomers though. She is quite complicated to play with, but once you master her, you'll find her extremely strong. Definitely S tier. The Jester Guide. How to play the Jester. All builds for all subclasses of the Jester in the game. Let's not waste time. Let's go. Our favorite character in the game, the Jester. So what is the Jester? The Jester moves around like crazy. He switches positions non-stop. He creates chaos among enemies and among your teammates too. He gives extra play. He stress heals. He supports, he bleeds enemies, and he has probably the highest crit in the game with finale. Jester is extremely fun to play. Now, what are the best quirks on a Jester? Anything that's gonna give Jester dodge is absolutely great. Everything that's gonna give Jester armor up, it's gonna be great on a Jester. Speed is also where he profits out the most. Now let's start with the first subclass of Jester, Virtuoso. So, Virtuoso Jester is a full support Jester that's best played on position number 3 or position number 4. He stress heals, buffs allies, he gives them extra action, or better to say, extra action in a turn. He moves enemies, and once he gets out of position, he can always go back and armor up. The main benefit for this Jester is huge stress resist on allies on a turn start that lasts for 2 turns, 15% chance to happen. Because of the high speed, he's always gonna play first and buff allies. Now, what's the first skill that you should level up on a Jester, on a support Virtuoso? It would be Inspiring Tune for additional stress heal. The next one that you should upgrade would be Battle Ballad for that extra crit chance. The next Jester in line would be damage dealing Soloist. Soloist starts from position number 3 and he can be played in 2 different ways, as a bleeder and as a pure damage dealer. If you want to play Soloist as a bleeder, you need Razor's Wit, you need Fade to Black, move forward, move backwards, blind, combo enemies, slice off, dealing bleed damage to a single target, harvest, deal bleed damage AoE to spot number 2 and 3, and stress heal. The first spell that you want to upgrade is definitely slice off for the bleeder, then it's the harvest, and at the end it's the Inspiring Tune for additional stress heal. The second build for the Jester, Soloist Jester, is the classic solo finale build where finale hurts like crazy, and it's very simple to play. From position number 3 you go in with solo, you mark enemy, you kick them off with finale, or better to say, you're gonna one-shot with finale after solo in a turn 2, and then you're gonna use Inspiring Tune to stress heal if needed. If not, you're gonna move forward with Razor's Wit, combo enemies again, then Fade to Black after this, put blind on enemies, and then again solo is available for finale combo on turn 4. That's the full combo of a soloist Jester, my favorite one by far, and the most fun to play with. The last one in line is Intermezzo. Intermezzo bleeds with song skills, and he merges extremely well with a Runaway cause she can remove bleeding and heal allies. So Intermezzo requires a specific team composition, or better to say, he needs a Runaway or he needs a Plague Doctor. If you want to play Intermezzo, you can use all builds that I gave for Virtuoso and Soloist. It is your choice whether you wanna play as a buffer Jester, as a damage dealing Jester. Okay, now your solo from Soloist build that I gave will put bleed on enemies, 20% less damage, but they will bleed. Okay, Virtuoso will bleed allies and it will give them stress resist also. So now I would say that the best way to play the Jester, if you really want to play Intermezzo, is definitely again with a finale build, but you can always play as a full support, of course. The Lepper guide, how to play the Lepper. All builds for all subclasses for the Lepper in the game. Let's not waste time and let's go. So what is the Lepper? The Lepper can be only played from position number 1 or 2. He is probably the strongest Wanderer class in the game, and he is probably the best hero without hero shrine upgrades. So his first 5 skills are probably the best and most valid in the game. One of the best early game heroes. What Lepper does, he deals tremendous amount of damage, huge crits, self-heals, self-stress heals, as well as huge non-stop taunts. Extremely tanky hero, extremely reliable. The best quirks on a Lepper would be quirks that give armor up and, of course, crit chance. Now let's go to subclasses. The first one would be damage dealing Lepper, or better to say, Tempest. So there are a few ways to play Tempest. The main point for you is to be the damage dealer, but there are a few ways how you can reallocate these skills. Tempest, even though he has minus 25% maximum HP, is actually extremely tanky. That means that the entire Lepper is extremely tanky when its squishier subclass is very tanky. He's good enough on a first map with those starting skills: Chop to deal damage, Purge to clear corpses, Withstand to get armor up and taunt, Solemnity and Reflection to clear stress and heal up, as well as remove blind. If you got a character that's gonna remove corpses, you're gonna switch Purge for Intimidate. And that would be while the mapping lasts on a Tempest. Once you reach the boss, you will need to change for Ruin, and this is how you play Tempest. Now, how to play Lepper? Very simple. On the first round, you will always down. On a second round, if you got combo on enemies to ignore your blind, you will use Chop. If not, you will use Reflection, and then you will use Chop. For the bosses, you'll just click on Ruin, and that's it. If someone clears corpses, you are on a map as a Tempest, you do not need Ruin, you can profit out of Intimidate, and this is how you play. So, no corpse clear, this is the build for the Tempest. Corpse clear in the team, this is the build for the Tempest. You arrive at the boss, this is the build for Tempest. Very simple to understand. Leveling up, you only need Withstand, Chop, and then Solemnity. You're good to go. The next subclass for the Lepper would be Poet, aka full freaking tank, probably the biggest tank in the game. So how do we play Poet? Poet goes on spot number 1. He cannot be stunned, he cannot be shuffled and moved by enemies. His heals are absolutely OP, they fill up the entire HP bar, and that's the main strength of the Poet. What's Poet and how you play Poet? Very simple. You're gonna level up Withstand, and you're gonna level up Intimidate, and you're gonna spam these two non-stop. Once you get low, you go with Solemnity, and you're good to go. That's how it is, non-stop double taunts on a Lepper. If he comes with a quirk that gives armor, or if you get some trinkets that gonna provide him armor, this is literally indestructible subclass of a Lepper, undying hero. Also for the poet, if you don't have anyone to clear corpses, you're gonna exchange shop for the purge, and this is how you play without corpse clear. If you got corpse clear, you switch to shop, or you can even go to break. The last subclass for the leper would be the monarch. Monarch is definitely my favorite hero in the game. Absolutely crazy good against cosmic enemies. All bosses, main chapter confession bosses, are cosmic enemies. Every hardest encounter in the game before you finish the map are cosmic enemies. This is the leper that doesn't deal damage to a single enemy but cosmics. Okay, there are 9-10 types of enemies in the game. How is Monarch played? You tank up and soak up damage during the entire map, then you just switch to 1 damage spell against cosmic enemies. When you want to finish up the map, he's gonna burst like crazy. He gains a 50% maximum HP against cosmic enemies, speed, and the chop will deal 100% more damage. Absolutely broken. And the best subclass for the leper. Now, how do we play Monarch? Very simple. If you got corpse clear in your team, you're gonna play with Hugh, and you're gonna have Withstand, Solemnity, Intimidate, and Reflection. You level up these two to the max, alright? So you can taunt up with armor, upgraded armor, and you can taunt up also and remove stealth from enemies. Once you're done with these two, you're gonna upgrade Solemnity and Chop. Once you arrive at the end of the map to fight cosmic enemies, or when you arrive at a confession boss, all you need to do is switch Hue for Chop and switch Intimidate for Ruin, and you're good to go. Then Monarch deals the most damage in the game. Basically, when he crits, it's bloody OP, because Ruin can go all the way up to 180% damage. If you crit on 180% damage with a chop, imagine the numbers of damage on the Monarch Leper. From the lowest damage in the game to highest damage in the game. That's how strong Monarch is. The main point about the leper, if you noticed, is that you'll need to switch skills along the way. There are mapping skills, there are cosmic enemies skills, there's the damage skills and the taunting skills. You need to know what enemy you'll fight next and how you'll adapt every time before the combat starts. All in all, Leper is absolutely insane class. I got a lot of runs with the Leper. You can check them out on my YouTube channel. I got all subclasses runs on both Radiant and Infernal Torch. If you have any problems, you can easily check it out and learn how to play the Leper properly. The Occultist Guide, how to play the Occultist. All builds for all subclasses of Occultist in the game. Let's not waste time and let's go. So what is the Occultist? Probably the weakest class, the weakest hero in the game. Unfortunately, until he receives some buffs. Yes, he's got among the highest crits in the game and among the highest damage in the game, but he's extremely squishy, and to trigger those crits you'll need to lose 2 or 3 rounds, so you can actually accumulate this yellow fist that you see over here, his inner power, okay? And then his spells hurt more. It's the class that overcomplicates things a bit, but in return he covers a lot of AoE damage, he covers all spots on the map, he covers all enemy positions during combat, he is a small healer, and he is a huge debuffer. The best quirks on the Occultist, if you wanna play him as melee, it's of course melee damage and crits or flat damage. If you play him as ranged, it's dodge, armor up, and of course ranged damage. If you wanna play him as ranged, it would be armor up, dodge, dodge plus, and of course flat ranged damage quirks. Now let's start with the Ritualist. Ritualist is a full support, buffer and debuffer, and of course healer. Ritualist can be played from position 2 to position 4. The only position he doesn't cover is position 1, but basically if you get shuffled he can play his skills from nearly every position, and that's a huge plus. There are 2 ways how we can play the Ritualist. The first way is a slightly offensive Ritualist with full healing, curses, buffs, debuffs through weakening curse, vulnerability hex, some healing from weird reconstruction. You open up with chaotic offering, so you get those fists, and then you burst enemies on round 2 or 3 with the burning stars, or you can heal up with weird reconstruction. You get those fists, healing is bigger. The next ritual build that you can play is sacrificing the burning stars for the demon's pool, so you can actually clear corpses if no one in your team can clear corpses. That's about it with the ritualist. The first spell that you want to upgrade would be chaotic offering and weird reconstruction. After that you could go for the burning stars. Playing without burning stars, then you're gonna upgrade one of the curses, hexes. Your choice what you want to do, it depends on the map of course, and it depends out of the team comp. The next subclass for the occultist would be the warlock, probably the strongest subclass of the occultist in the game. Pure damage dealer, simple as that. Now how do we play warlock? Warlock can only be played on position number 3. And the main ability and the main damage dealing spell would be Abyssal Artillery. That's gonna combo enemies and stun them if you got those buffs. Fists, how you gain them? You gain them through chaotic offering, so your skills hurt more. When you need single target damage, there's the burning stars, the one of the best skills, not for the occultist but in the entire game. The amount of damage is absolutely crazy on the burning stars, and this is the boss killer skill. And of course for melee enemies you got sacrificial stab if you wanna reach that position 1 and 2, finish them off on low health and so on. And at the end, if no one can clear corpses, then you got demon's pool. If you got someone that's able to clear corpses, you can switch demon's pool for anamnesis or weird reconstruction. That would be your choice how you wanna play this warlock. How do we level up warlock subclass? The main ability as the first one would be Abyssal Artillery. The next one would be Chaotic Offering, and at the end it would be the Burning Stars. The main problem with this warlock is that he needs protection non-stop, so team that can defend warlock, that can use towns from position 1 and 2 or flat defend on them, would be recommendable for this warlock occultist. Again, he is extremely squishy. The last subclass for warlock would be a tank warlock, aka aspirant. Aspirant has raised maximum HP by 25%, his melee skills hurt more, anamnesis has insane damage, AoE damage, and he starts the combat with armor plus, so he can be played from position 1 and 2. If you're gonna play aspirant on position 2, you will play this build with a demon's pool. If you're gonna play aspirant occultist on position 1, you will change demon's pool for weird reconstruction. Your choice, where you wanna put him, it depends on the team, but those would be the two options. Now how do we play aspirant? We whack enemies with melee. If we get out of the position, we use binding shadows to move forward. The main ability would be anamnesis that deals 125% more damage. It's an AoE skill that absolutely destroys enemies. If enemies are weak, you will use sacrificial stab. If there is a more complicated combat, then you're gonna open up with chaotic offering, and the next thing that you're gonna use is anamnesis and wipe out all enemies. The leveling and how you will level up this warlock, very simple. Sacrificial stab will be your first upgrade, the second upgrade would be chaotic offering, and the third upgrade would be anamnesis. That's about it. The Vestal guide, how to play the Vestal. All builds for all subclasses of Vestal in the game. Let's not waste time and let's go. What is Vestal? Compared to Darkeset Dungeon 1 Vestal, where she was a full support and a healer, this time she's a healer. She is a full support, debuffer, huge buffer, huge support, both offensive and defensive support, and on top of it all, you can play her as a ranged or melee damage dealer. Absolutely insane class. What are the best quirks on a Vestal? Basically any quirk that's gonna give you armor, dodge, or flat damage, both range and melee, doesn't matter, is the quirks that you wanna aim for. Now let's start with a Confessor subclass for the Vestal. Confessor is there for a debuffs and for full support. Best to be played on position number 3 or 4. The first one in line we're gonna take is Illumination to remove positive tokens from enemies. The second one is a bit of range damage with Judgment as well as some debuffs on enemies. The third one is a classic heal, single target heal. The fourth one is a classic AoE heal, heal per turn, better to say. And the last one, now this is your choice for the Confessor. If you need defense, you will go with Consecration of Fortitude. And if you need offense, then you will go with Consecration of Light. Depends on a team you wanna play with. What are consecrations and how do we play Vestal, no matter what class or subclass? She gains convictions that empower her spells. That's the first thing. When you see these convictions, the spell will be empowered. Depends on what spell you wanna go for, of course. That is one thing. Works very similar to Occultist mechanic, but she also has these consecrations that will grant damage. Upgraded versions will grant damage and crit, and she's got defensive consecrations that give armor or dodge, and upgraded that give upgraded armor and upgraded dodge, or better to say armor plus and dodge plus. So now you get to pick with the Confessor whether you want this consecration or you want Consecration of Light. If you know what you're doing with Vestal, you can easily remove Divine Comfort and play with both consecrations. This is all your choice. Now we go to the next class, it would be Chaplain. Chaplain is a classic support debuffer. Compared to the Confessor, where she was a squishy support, now we're gonna play her as a tanky support. Now how do we play Chaplain subclass? The first spell that we're gonna get is the Hand of Light. The next spell would be Maze Bash, the next spell would be Sanctuary, then is the Divine Comfort, and at the end it's Mantra. If you know what you're doing, you can remove Divine Comfort and gain one of the two consecrations. Depends on a team, of course. If you do not need consecrations, then you can easily go with Illumination, because this Chaplain is best played on position number 2. Spells that you wanna upgrade are Sanctuary, Maze Bash, and Hand of Light. It's completely your choice how you wanna play. You got 3 or 4 different ways with Chaplain. The thing that you gonna switch is this, or this, this, or this. Pick out of these 4 skills which one you like the most for the Chaplain. Again, this highly depends on a team you'll play with. If you don't have a stress healer in your team, you might go with Mantra as the first upgrade. If you don't have a tank in your team, then you will go with Sanctuary as your first upgrade. The last in line would be Seraph subclass for Vestal. This is Consecration Vestal, where consecrations last for 5 rounds, and every time when someone triggers a consecration, she will gain power up, so she can hurt more. If you don't want to hurt more, you can heal more. So how do we play Seraph? We put Consecration of Fortitude under the squishiest character. We put Consecration of Light under the character that's gonna deal most damage. And then we will have full powers for extra heals, for extra damage. If someone is close to that, we can always use Mantra and AoE heal everyone that's under the effects of Consecration. That's how Seraph is played. There are multiple ways to play now. If you have another healer in your team, you can sacrifice heal and you can go with Illumination. That will be it for the Vestal. Wanderer class, you can play all the builds that I gave. It doesn't matter what you wanna play with, alright? The only thing you need to make sure is to unlock all of her skills through hero shrines. The Flagellant guide, how to play the Flagellant. All builds for all subclasses of the Flagellant in the game. Let's not waste time, let's go. What is the Flagellant? Flagellant is probably the most overpowered class in a game. Yes, this hero is absolutely insane and he's probably gonna get nerfed. What he does is basically everything. He soaks up damage, he heals, he stress heals everyone, he removes all negative effects from everyone. He literally does like all of these combined, that all of them that do okay, like blight damage, he's got it. Melee damage, he's got it. Crits, he's got it. Tankiness, he's got it. Like that, this one is all of these combined into one. So due to nerf, but let's make a guide for it. So the best quirks on him are absolutely everything that can give him armor, health, flat damage. It doesn't matter what you want to go for. Even crits work well. The best by far is Defiant. He literally cannot die. Okay, he is an undying hero, especially if you get this. The first in line would be a subclass called Maniac. What he does is crowd control, and that's what he does the best. Now let's see the build. So, this is the perfect build for Maniac. Flat damage with Blight, AoE damage back rows with Blight, Lash Gift for self-heal, more for the Undying option, because he gains this tokens that are called Pain, and for every point of pain he heals up certain amount of health. So he can go up to 3 points, that's 30% healing, absolutely broken. On Pain Plus, he heals 45% HP, broken. So we were at more as the main skill of Flagellant, the one that makes him indestructible basically, and at the end it would be Sepsis, or better to say extra heal. Now this is the perfect build for Maniac, yeah, but considering how OP he is, I would easily remove Sepsis from Maniac, because he doesn't need that much healing, and I would put into Clear Stress. Why Clear Stress? If you give him a trinket for stress resist, and that counts for all subclasses of Flagellant. If you give him trinket for stress, flat stress resist, and if you get a pet for stress resist, he can remove stress from allies and he will negate stress from himself. So that's 5 points, I repeat, 5 points of stress heal, absolutely OP. So this is what I would remove from Maniac, even though it was invented to play with Sepsis. I believe Endure is far better than Sepsis, and we're gonna need all of this. Also, what you can exchange on a Maniac is Lash Gift, okay? Lash Gift can be exchanged if you need corpse removal for Fester. If not, then you can go with Necrosis. When you play Necrosis, when you got Plague Doctor, Grave Robber, heroes that deal blight damage, alright? This is when you go with Necrosis. So there are 3-4 different ways to play Maniac. It all depends on a team you want to play with. Of course, the only positions where you can play Flagellant, no matter the subclass, would be position 1 and 2. For example, if you don't have a healer in your team, you can easily remove Necrosis for damage and play with Deathless also, so that will be like 5th build for Maniac right now. And there is that build with Sepsis also, where you can steal all negative tokens from your ally, heal them up, and then transfer all of those negative tokens to enemies. Again, 5-6 different ways of how you can play Maniac. Now, everything that I said applies also for other subclasses. Exanimate, once he goes into stress, you want to stress out Flagellant only on boss fights, by the way. He doesn't go into a meltdown, he becomes OP, but you only wanna do it during the boss fights, cause allies will lose relations with him. So only for the final boss you will want to stress him out with Endure as much as you can, cause that's how he becomes toxic, alright? And toxic makes him even more OP. Now, depends on a subclass you're playing with, Toxic has different effects. For example, on Exanimate subclass, everyone that hits Flagellant, and he's got a taunt by the way with more, everyone that hits Flagellant will become blighted. And that is the entire difference between Maniac and Exanimate. Now, what is the build on Exanimate that I like the most? I like healing over time, or better to say undying. No one can die in your team, you wait for them on Blight. Okay, once you reach some point where you can sacrifice one of these skills, if you're for example stress free, as I said, this class, subclass, no matter what you pick on a Flagellant, it's pretty much doable with every single skill that you click on. So if your companions are without stress you're gonna remove Endure and you're gonna go with Necrosis. Or you can remove Necrosis and you can go with Fester for clear corpses if no one has clear corpses. I repeat again, what everyone else does, he does it all. That's how OP he is right now. And he is due to a nerf. The last subclass would be Scourge. Scourge is actually the full support, okay? Full tanky counter support, where he opens up with more, and now he steals tokens from allies and he transfers negative tokens on enemies. He can also remove Blight, Bleed, Burn, and of course he can heal up for amazing amount of health. So this is like a safe bet, safe version of Flagellant, the Scourge. Now what is the most important skill in the game for the Flagellant to upgrade? It's by far more. That's the first skill that you want to upgrade. Now if you play with a Scourge, you might want to go with Sepsis or something like that for the next one. Extra heal if you don't have a healer for the second one. If you play with Maniac, you can upgrade Punish. If you play with Exanimate, you can upgrade Acid Rain. So it all depends out of the subclass what you will upgrade after more. The only thing that matters is more on every single subclass, including the Wanderer class. So this is your bread and butter. What I figured out that works in most team compositions is no matter what subclass, more, Acid Rain, Punish, Necrosis, if you got Blighters. If not, then you're gonna go with Undying and Stress Heal. This is the safe bet until you learn how to rotate skills on the Flagellant. I said that he is the strongest character hero in the game by far, but he is also the hardest one to learn and master and to actually play with success. So there is a penalty in difficulty, okay, of how fast you can learn each hero. Everyone is pretty much easy to learn aside from Occultist, Vestal and Flagellant, okay? Flagellant is the most complicated one to learn and to play with, because he can be played in like 15 different ways. Now imagine when you put tokens on him, okay, different tokens, when you put different trinkets and when you put different quirks. Combinations are limitless on a Flagellant, but it pays off because he's really OP. Newly added Bounty Hunter guide for the Altar of Hope update. Let's go. Once you see this banner for the Bounty Hunter, that's when you can recruit the Bounty Hunter. It can happen in 1, 2, 3, 4. I never seen him at the final end though. Maybe it can happen, maybe not. I know that I never had him on the mountain. What is the Bounty Hunter? Bounty Hunter covers all positions from 1 to 4. He can be played everywhere. Best played at position number 3 or 2. His biggest strength is his skills. They're all mastered. They're all leveled up. Okay, so he is extremely strong. How and when you should play Bounty Hunter, that's the main question in the game, because you can only have him on one map. First of all, and what you need to do, because Bounty Hunter doesn't have relations like others, you need to spend all relation items before recruiting Bounty Hunter, okay? So if you're gonna boost relations, do it immediately in the end, and then recruit the Bounty Hunter. I thought I made myself clear here.
Tried and
now
tested.
You can recruit the Bounty Hunter.
A bond to be counted on.
That will be rule number 1.
Aspiration unites the hopeful.
Rule number 2. Who you should switch for the Bounty Hunter. If someone is destroyed in health or stress and you cannot heal in the end, that's the character you wanna switch for. If it happens that you get Bounty Hunter early on, then put mastery points into one character. For example, you put mastery points into Bolster and Retribution. for men-at-arms, or chop for leper and intimidate or something like that. And then you're gonna switch the character that doesn't have any mastery upgrades. Okay, that's the best way to use the bounty hunter, and that would be rule number 2. You exchange the weakest hero for the bounty hunter. Now, bounty hunter, he casts 4 candles. Okay, see, he's not that good for the beginners. Okay, he's really not that good for the beginners because you wanna accumulate candles. Bounty hunter ramps up after like 50 hours in the game, after a lot of farming. That's when he can save your runs. Now, I don't say don't try him, but make sure that you know what he's capable of. When is the best time to recruit the bounty hunter? When you're in the first in, the very first in, and you wanna go for the boss, the very first boss on the map.
The provinces
That's
and cantrips of
when
our
bounty
land,
hunter is the
crumbling
best. Not on a
and
map 2,
undone.
not on a map 3, on a first map, and you rush for the boss. Okay, because he is very strong for the first map, and that's the easy way to accumulate relics, bubbles, candles, trinkets, and other consumables on the first map. Now, depends for whom I switch here for the bounty hunter. As I said, position 1 to 4, it really doesn't matter where you wanna place him. The builds change when you switch positions. In this case, we can go with position 4, because position 1 is easy to get, but we're gonna cover every build for every position.
He has no past, no future, no mercy.
The first thing that you should check when you recruit the bounty hunter is his item, his trinket, and what he'll receive. Vengeful Kill List, for example, is great if you recruited bounty hunter on a 3rd map, because the 3rd map is the longest one. Here, it doesn't matter that much, because it's the first map. This would be all the skills for the bounty hunter. Now, if we're gonna play him on position number 4, this should be the build for position number 4. Come hitter, hurlbat for extra damage, no escape for the stun, flashbang for blind, daze, and stun, and some damage over time with caltrips. If you got no tank in your team and no one to protect like HELLION, Men-at-Arms, or LEPPER, then you might consider taking up Bodyguard on position 4 so you can defend squishy allies. The best spell to switch would be Flashbang for Bodyguard. Now, if Bounty Hunter is on a position number 3, he can be played in a lot of different ways, because this is his favorite spot, and all of this applies. Okay, from collect bounty as a basic attack, to mark for that, to remove armor from enemies or to make them vulnerable. Come hitter to pull them and kill with a combo. Classic stun, it's way too good to skip. And of course finish him, that deals 75% damage to dazed and stunned enemies. You can also play him as a taunter on position number 3 if others can do all of that, and if they deal damage, all you need to do is switch these 2 and get a stare down and a bodyguard. Now you have taunt, you have weaken, and you got defend allies. That's for position number 3. Same what I said for position number 3 goes for position number 2. Exactly the same builds. Okay. Now for position number 1, if your team can target position number 3 and 4 on enemies, then you should remove Come Hitter and go with a bodyguard. So this should be your build. Okay, a stun, taunt, protect, remove armor, mark, and classic basic attack. If your allies are bad at targeting position 3 and 4, then you should switch bodyguard or stare down for Come Hitter on position number 1. Now to sum it all up quickly, Bounty Hunter, very good for map 1 because you can rush for the boss. Bounty Hunter covers all positions. Bounty Hunter lasts only for 1 map. Bounty Hunter is expensive for beginners. Bounty Hunter is a run saver for more experienced players once you farm up a bit. His animations are great, it's a very fun hero to play, and I wish that he was in a hero selection instead like this, but he is a X for hire, so he fits the lore well, if nothing else. Once you see him, take him and have fun. And one last thing, what are the best trinkets on a bounty hunt? Very simple. Flat resists, flat crit, flat damage. That's how easy it is. Do not sacrifice damage for HP. Okay? He can get stressed also, cause it doesn't matter. You're gonna ditch him on the next turn. So do whatever the hell you like, just have damage, crit, resists.